Alright, y'all, I'm finally back with another Capture One color grading tutorial. It's been a minute. I've just been so freaking busy. It's been insane. But yeah, I have 30 minutes before I have to leave, so let's knock this out. So usually the first thing I do when I open up a Fuji file is I go over into my lens corrections and I bump up that light fall off. That's one thing that I miss about Lightroom. That's the only thing really, is when you put the Fuji files in there, all that stuff's already baked in. Capture One gives you the option to take it away. I wish they would give you a second option to where it would just default to doing this. Maybe there is a way, maybe I don't know. Yeah, if you know of a way, let me know. But yeah, so let's get started. So after I do that, I go into my exposure, usually mess around with it a little bit. This lighting was very difficult. The sun was glaring straight through right there, and then we had super dark, but I just wanted that light so bad, so we're going to have to balance it out in post. So honestly, usually I would go through presets I've made for myself. Previously I had 6 presets that I put up for sale, but I've gone through and I made a whole nother new batch. Just as I do shoots and I do like different settings, I make new presets and they tend to work out for other photos. But you can see, I mean, I probably would have just used this one, but I mean, that would make this video not as fun. So I'm gonna be doing a video on these presets in like a week or two, and then I'll post them up for sale. I kind of like this one too. I like that filmic look. But yeah, so we're probably gonna do something similar to that. Get this exposure balanced out. Should get that light. So one quick tip: the exposure and brightness tab. A lot of people are confused. They think they do the same thing. Brightness tends to brighten up the whole photo without affecting any of the dynamic range. So you see when I lifted that, the color kind of went around, so it does affect saturation. But you see the highlights were messed with and the shadows still look pretty natural. And then exposure, you see it's not affecting color saturation, but your highlights and shadows didn't react as well. Editing light and curves in Photoshop is a lot easier than redoing color, so I'd rather keep the color more accurate. So anytime I do brightness, it's usually to get some mid-range lift. But yeah, and then my white balance, you see, if you guys have seen my other videos, I like to shoot very warm in camera with the tint over a little bit. Fujifilm skin tones will hold up pretty well no matter how you push it. So, but actually I'm gonna cool it down a little bit because I do want to try to get those blues. So you see the blues in here. So you see there's blues in her shirt. There's some blues in the window. There's some blues. I mean, this is more gray, and with all the warmth making it look blue, but I want to enhance all that. So you know, my skin tones, I'm going to hit on the blue. So just because it says skin tone does not mean you only have to use it on skin tones. You could do pretty much any color and use it to your advantage. Do it like that. Yeah, so you see it's getting a bunch of different hues around here. So this is just like a way to introduce more colors into your photo or to balance it out. Again, that's one thing that's really cool about film is film didn't have trillions of like colors that it could pick up like these digital cameras can. So it tended to shift similar colors into the same hue. That's one of like the beautiful parts of film. So you see that pretty much did that. Let's go save more of our highlights. Okay, let's go into our curves. There's some green in the highlights that I like, but I also want to warm this up a little bit still. Now that we have those blues in there, now you see there's a lot of green, so let me affect the green in the shadows first, and then I'll lift those greens back up. There. Let's lower the blues and highlights and lift them up in the shadows. So, and anyone who knows me knows the reason I don't use Lightroom anymore is because Fuji files do not just like, they don't do well with Lightroom. It's crazy. When I first switched to Fuji, I was obsessed with what the cameras do. But as time went on, I was like, was this a mistake? Like my files and my photography doesn't look like it used to. Like what am I doing wrong? Well, it was Lightroom. I finally tried Capture One after a couple of buddies suggested it to me, and yeah, I'll never go back. It's insane what it can do. So you see with sharpening, I already have a default action in there. Lift that up. Let's go and fix these greens that skin tone adjustment brought in. So I'm just blazing through this. I have other videos that break down more of every little thing I'm doing. But in order for me to have time to do more videos like this, I just need to, I'd rather just film me doing these edits rather than having you guys wait between months for me to do a bigger video, you know? So let me know if you're like into that. If not, I could do fewer videos, but more detailed ones, or I could just do these ones where you just see my workflow. Wow, this is looking cool. So let me push that here over there. Nope, Command Z that. Cool. So I think that's a good start for there. Now, usually what I do is, so I got my colors there and I got the photo pretty safe. So, a lot of people, you could just like slap some film grain on this and call it a day. But usually, if you want to make the photo pop and really well done, you have to go into Photoshop. That's like, it's just a part of it, you know? So usually I just right click, open Photoshop. These are the settings I usually use. I haven't really tried anything else. This has just worked, so there's been no reason for me to try anything else. All right, what you guys didn't see is plugged in my Wacom tablet. There's no other way to do retouching. If you want to really step up your work, and you have to go in and start retouching, and not just retouching skin, but retouching photos overall. It's pretty much the way that you can get more clients if they see that you can do high-end retouching and photoshopping. So I have a action that's set up that sets up my frequency separation. You can find there's so many videos talking about frequency separation. I don't think I'm ever going to make one. And there's lots of those videos. They offer free frequency separation actions. So this one I just made for myself. It's really basic. So usually when people use frequency separation, they just slap on the action and they go in and start doing stuff like this. I don't really do that. So usually what I do, this black and white layer is more for portraits. It enhances all the details in the photo, so you go in and you can fix all those details. But for stuff like this, usually I'm just going to go in and paint. So you see I just sampled a color, and now I'm just going to lightly paint. Basically what I'm trying to do is dodge and burn. So you could dodge and burn this the other way, the traditional way, but this tends to kill two birds with one stone. The second bird being color. I don't have to go and do a bunch of color shifts or anything like that. I'll probably still have to with this, but it just makes it a little more easier. You see, I'm not doing anything too crazy with it. Keeping it pretty simple. Especially on guys. You don't want to over-retouch guys. It looks weird. Even in movies, when you watch films, you realize that the female characters tend to be lit a little more soft. And then the male characters will push it a little bit more. I don't know if that's sexist or what, but that's just how it goes. And a lot of people don't realize it, so maybe it's not sexist if no one's realizing it. That's a different topic. Different can of worms. So you see, her arm was a bit blotchy. Just balancing that out. Could go faster, but I'm doing screen recording, so my computer is bogging down a bit. But you see, I just want to even out everything. It's not about trying to make the models look perfect and all that. It's just distractions. Real life, these aren't distractions. Real life, that's real life. But in a photo, this is my art, this is my craft. I want no distractions. I want people to look at the whole photo. I don't want them to be distracted by little blobs on the skin. And cameras make humans look worse than they are. It's just the fact. Let's balance this out. You see right here, that shade on her lip, that looks weird. Just lightly painting. So since that shade on her lip's weird, I'm going to a brighter part next to it and sampling that color and then painting over it. The brighter one. Oh yeah, there it goes. Did too much though. The screen recording is really bogging down the computer. Man, it's a bit difficult. You see right here. Balance all that out. That color again. I'm gonna just go over no. So this is basically dodging burning right here, but again with color. From what I remember, this day was pretty hot. So the models were a bit sweaty, and before this shot, we were shooting in direct light and running around. You guys seen the video that we did? I like that. Alright. I didn't mean to do it that hard, but turned out well. Happy accidents. So that's all my photography is. Happy accidents. You don't go too much on it, especially since the shot isn't up close to them. You don't have to do too much. So let's just go on before and after. So see, we're just kind of balancing everything out. So I dig that. Alright, so I'm just going to merge that together. Let's we'll do the black and white layer. Alright, so let's just copy all those layers. Alright, so from here, I'm going to start messing with the contrast and the color. So the color looks good, but I want to make it look a little more natural. So I'm going to go to my vibrancy, lower my vibrancy. I'm going to double click on the layer, and then I'm going to apply that only to the highlight. So I'm going to shift the underlying layer over, just a little bit more. Let's see what that did. So you see, just taking out some of the saturation, the highlights, let's make it look a little bit more natural. And then from here, I'm going to merge that down. I know you're not supposed to be merging things down and messing with anything, but that's how I've always done it. If I ever mess up really bad, I just have to go and redo it all. It just happened multiple times. So you see the contrast is a bit light on here, so I just duplicate it, added a soft layer of light. So you see we got a little more contrast. I used to not like a lot of contrast, but as my eye matures and my photography matures, I tend to do more contrast. I'm going to go into, I like where the image is at right now, but I still want to do a little bit more. So I'm going to go to my gradient maps, and I have a couple made. So let's try this guy first. And let's try soft light, and then lower that, pass it all the way down, and light and turn it in. So I'm just trying to get more color contrast. Let's try this one. Just get more of the highlights. There we go. Before and after. So overlay does not too much saturation. Turn that up a little bit. Alright, now we're getting those greens back though. So let's go select the color. Go to our cyan. Should be in the cyans. Nope. Let's do yellows. There we go. It's in the yellows. So right now I'm just messing around and seeing what I like best. I don't want to press this more hue. Let's go to another selector color. Now let's see if we get some, is there any details in the greens? There's a little bit. Let's take the yellows out of them. Do another selector color. Try cyans now. Not doing much. Alright, I'm going to go to my hue and saturation. Going to go to my masking tool. Let's do color range. So pretty much what we did with the selective skin tone and Capture One, we're going to do in Photoshop. And you see how much more effort it takes. That's why I love Capture One. So a lot of this coloring I could have done probably in Capture One, but for me, I've been using Photoshop for so long that's just easier. And like in Photoshop, I just have a slight more amount of precision. So let's do colorize. And you can see you got those blues over there and some blues over here. Let's go drastic with it at first. And we'll turn down our opacity and feather that in. See? Digging it. Alright, now let's your skin's a little too warm, so I'm gonna go with my curves. Lift my greens. Lift my blues. Reason I'm lifting these colors, I kind of like what that did to the photo. I'm gonna X that. I'm gonna duplicate that. So you see their skin tones are very warm, red, pretty much reddish. So I'm doing the contrasting color to that because I'm gonna create more contrast on them with color. So this is the trick to skin. A lot of people, if they want contrast, they bump up the contrast. Don't do that. When it comes to skin tones, best way to get contrast without messing up the dynamic range on the skin tone is to do it with color. So I'm just going to do Command I to invert this mask. Get my brush tool. I'm going to paint over their skin. You do real heavy-handed with it too. You gotta be too clean with it. Again, I'm using my Wacom tablet. Makes it a lot easier than using a mouse, or especially a lot easier than a trackpad. I cannot retouch on a trackpad. I've tried. And it should be good. Get some tummy in there. Alright, so now just like we did on a previous layer, I'm going to double click on this layer and we're going to feather it off of the lower tones. Let's see how that looks. So basically what we did, we just feathered it so only hitting the highlights, and you see it's giving them more of a pop, but it is very heavy. So let's turn it down, raise it back up. There we go. See how that looks. Cool. I'm happy with that. So you see that just made them pop out of the photo a little bit more. One issue is though, it's a little heavier on her face because her face has the most light of everything. So I'm just going to feather that off a little bit, slightly brush, so it's not. There it goes. Cool. All right, let's merge all of this. I know it's a no-no, but yellow. All right, let's see. So that's what we pulled in with. That's where we're at right now. I'm trying to see. There's something I like about the original a little bit more. Well, the cool thing is I could just lower this opacity on this and kind of mix the two up. Let's see how that looks. I'm happy with that. All right. Let's merge all those layers. Duplicate it one more time. I'm going to go in and do some selective sharpening just to make them pop a little bit more of this photo. I should have used either my 16:1.4 on this. I mean, I probably should have used my 61.4 on this, but I had the kit lens on the camera still because we were filming. And I wasn't sure if we were allowed to be where we were. So I just had to get the shot real quick. But I wish I would shot the 61.4. I would have got a little more bokeh back here. The kit lens is awesome. I mean, you can see this shot looks awesome. It's shot with the Fuji kit lens, which is crazy. But yeah, I would have mine a little more bokeh. And the 61.4 is a bit sharper too. Over him. So these guys are actually a couple. So a lot of the times I will get model couples that want to shoot. And I gladly accept it because it always looks like campaign status when you have more than one model. It's another trick. If you want to look like you're trying to shoot some more campaign stuff and stuff like that, try to get 3 or more models. It makes it a whole lot more difficult to get shots because you got to really figure out what to do. So right now I'm just doing dodge and burning on her hat. And you see I got some of the of the door behind her because I'm real sloppy with it. So I just double tap on that layer, and I will take off the highlights until we don't see it on the door. Since the hat's black, we can get it right before it starts separating. So right there. So see now, I'm just on her hat. Now I'm going to copy that. Go to my vibrancy. Lower that vibrancy down. Actually, let's do saturation. Saturation should, there we go. So, I'm going to try to do some color contrast. So again, let's take this so it's not hitting the door. Now I'm going to take the blacks. Slow and softly. Just raising off the blacks. That way it creates some more contrast in the hat, and you can see the layering in the, yeah, you can see that. It's real subtle. Now, my finishing move here, filter gallery. I'm going to add some film grain. So the film grain in here, it's not really about the grain that I like using this tool for. It's more for what it does to the contrast. Let's raise the grain 1, and you'll see it kind of lifts the shadow. And you can see how it's lifting the shadows. It's like kind of lowering the contrast. I don't know, it's really hard to explain. What the intensity does is raises the intensity of the highlights. You see right there. And then the highlight area raises how much of the highlights. So you see what that did right there. But that's a little bit too much contrast. I'm going to lower that. Let's click OK on that. So I actually have an action setup that does that. I have a few of them, so it's like different power settings. So yeah, let's just feather that in. Love it. Merge it all together. Let's hide that group. All right, see before. So this is what we pulled in from Capture One, and after retouching and pushing the color a little bit more, this is what we're leaving with. So you see again, this would have been like cool. You could have uploaded this. But to really get that high-end editorial look, you really need to go in and do a few more touches to it. So again, in Capture One, I probably could have done this, but I've only been using Capture One for a year now, I think. And Photoshop, I've been using for 8 years. So with that 8 years, I just know it very well. So with Capture One, every day I'm learning something new on it. So eventually I'm hoping I'll be able to do this just in Capture One and not have to use Photoshop at all, especially for like retouching kind of stuff. This photo didn't need that much retouching, as you saw, but every little bit helps. So yeah, let's just Command S to save that. So you see now we're back in Capture One, and you'll see when you save it, just saves a copy, a PSD copy, right above your original file. So there's the original file and then the PSD copy. So usually how I finish this is do more tweaks. I'm just forever tweaking. So always first, for me, I go in and add my film grain. Let's do, probably do silver. Yeah, when it's like full body stuff further away and a lot of distractions, I usually do silver. But if it's more close-up stuff, I will do extreme. But I actually think I like extreme for this one. Well, I'll turn down a little bit though. Maybe not that much. There we go. I'm an addict of film grain. But yeah, there's still a bit of reds in their skin that's kind of bugging me. So let's go back to the skin tone tool. Let's take out all the yellows. Don't want it to affect any of that. Let's lift the red so it doesn't affect the lips. Still kind of affecting the lips, but let's see. Let's see what this does. Let's raise it here. See where it shifts it. It's kind of saturation. Okay, saturation, I think, fixed it. Do a little bit of lightness, soften it a little bit. Alright. I think that's it. So I just went in my color balance and I just tweaked the colors just a little bit more. The shadows I pushed a little bit into like a bluish magenta. and the midtones a little bit into the teal. The highlights I didn't touch. I mean, if we wanted to, if I was going to do something, I'd maybe cool them down a little bit just to create a little more contrast, but I don't think that's needed. I mean, now that I'm looking at it, I don't mind it, but yeah, let's just do that right there. All right, and that's it. I'm just going to export this. I have a command set up for Command Option E. And these are my export settings. So a question I always get for, I should probably do a separate video for this, but my export settings for Instagram, I always just leave it 100%, unless I need to text it to the model. I usually just do Dropbox, but if the model wants me to text it to them, I do 50%, because a lot of the times 100% is too much quality, and the iPhone won't send it in high quality if they're not on Wi-Fi. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know if you're cool with videos like this where it's just I'm kind of going through my process, so and not really doing anything super detailed. Again, the more detailed stuff takes forever to get to it because I just don't have a whole lot of time for it. I'm literally backlogged maybe on like 16 photo shoots right now that I need to start editing ASAP. So I want to knock out these ones for these guys. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Peace.